And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Welch. This is Politics Unplugged, and joining us today, two people who could form a very interesting power team at the state capitol. Current House Speaker JD Mesnard, who is running for the state Senate next year, and his mother, Nora Ellen, who is running to replace him in that same district. Thanks a lot to both of you for joining us. I guess the first question is it like mother like son, or is it like son like mother? Who jumped into politics first?
That would be me. Neither of us planned this, but life has its funny adventures, and now here we are, and the progress of our respective political careers is at the legislature.
Yeah, and you know, Ms. Ellen, you're not a stranger to politics, although your son may have jumped in first. You've been serving on the city council. Tell us a little bit about that and what you've accomplished there.
Right. I've been serving on the city council. I got elected in 2012 and working really hard with Chandler's known as the innovations and tech hub of the Southwest. So love working with that, bringing in high-wage, high-density jobs to the city, and working on some great budgets. All our budgets have been structurally sound, and we have a really great public safety department.
Okay. And how much did JD's decision to jump into politics affect your decision to get and run for the council?
Totally independent. Just the way I was already a commissioner in the city and was encouraged to run by the mayor and a lot of other people. So we've had very different paths into politics.
And, you know, how much growing up did you guys talk about politics growing up in your guys' house?
Yeah.
Was this something that you saw come, or did it come out of left field?
No, it was not anticipated. You know, growing up, our political involvement was pretty much you vote, and when you don't like the outcome, you throw something at the TV. You know, it was really not. We didn't campaign. We didn't knock on doors for politicians or anything like that. We just, as in our ongoing effort to be involved in the public, to serve our community, this is sort of how it evolved.
So, and how did that conversation evolve? You running for the state house now. I mean, obviously you'd been at the state house for a little while. You'd been the speaker. Yeah. Who brought it up first? Did you encourage your mother when you knew you were going to be termed out and run for the Senate? Did you encourage your mom to replace you in the seat?
I'm thrilled that she's running to replace me. It was not my idea. It was hers.
Right, and other people that have encouraged me to run.
Yeah, I was going to say,
for a long time, actually.
What's the kind of genesis of that? How did you start thinking about, well, maybe I should be running for the state house, more suited for me than your work on the city council?
That's a really great question. I think just what I've been doing at the city level, I really want to take it to the state level. And just what people are saying to me, I love the city level and the state level both, and this is the time for me to go for the state.
Okay. Now, the rumor is right now is that when you get over to the Senate that you're going to be running for the Senate presidency. Is that true? Is that is there no validity to that rumor at all?
I've had a lot of encouragement from my colleagues. I have never initiated a single conversation about it. I'm just focused on being a good speaker, and then, you know, one day at a time, we'll see what happens over on the.
So you're keeping the options open, because you know, if you look at the way things are playing out, there's going to be a whole lot of freshman lawmakers moving over from the House, where you are the Speaker, over to the Senate. Maybe you have enough votes there to go lead that chamber as well, right?
Whether or not that proves to be the case, I think is some distant future.
Okay. So bottom line, though, is at the very least, if you do win election and you do get that seat, you're at least going to be heading up a committee.
Sure.
Would you be willing to, you know, kill a bill that your mother sponsored on there if you didn't like it?
So my mom, we get asked this a lot. Do we agree on everything? We don't agree. I thought my room should be messier when I was growing up, for instance, than she thought it should be. But in all seriousness today, we really stand for, on the major issues, we stand for the same things. But if my mom decides to introduce something that I'm opposed to, I'm going to vote my convictions. It's what she taught me to do, and so I vote against it.
All right. So what's the dinner conversation at Thanksgiving then if he kills a key piece of legislation of yours?
It would not be about the turkey. I can tell you that much. We'll probably have some discussion. Our discussions really aren't that much around politics. It's just what families talk about, pretty much.
And you know, same question to you. At some point, you may be chairing a committee, have some influence over legislation that maybe your son really is pushing for. Would you be willing to kill that piece of legislation if I didn't agree with you? Or would you feel any more pressure to move it forward because it is your son doing this?
I would really have to talk to him and let him know why I'm not going to support it. And
if
why
I am the president of the Senate, there might be consequences to that.
Okay, and I guess another more serious question then too is, some people have questioned, why did you jump in now? Why not wait until after the session? When JD is no longer the speaker, some people feel that it may put undue pressure on lobbyists, other donors, to donate to your campaign.
Oh, instead of his?
Well, both campaigns, because he is the Speaker of the House, and they may feel obligated to donate to both of you,
right.
And that you could really be a benefactor of that.
Okay, great question. I was just encouraged by a lot of people to go ahead and announce. The rumors are kind of out there, and they wanted me to make it public. I have my co-chairs, 3 of them. So that's what I did. You try to take advice from people that you respect.
This isn't really early. I mean, when I announced back in the day, it was about this time of year. Frankly, if you get into next year and you haven't announced, then you're really late. So from a timing perspective, I think this is right on par with what's normal.
But the concern there is, though, I mean, are you going to be taking donations from lobbyists with business in front of the state legislature, business with the Speaker?
I haven't really thought about that. So right now I'm just thinking I announced, and this is important to me to get the message out there. I'm collecting signatures. That really hasn't been on the forefront of my mind. So.
Okay. And do you think it puts it may be undue influence?
Truthfully, I hadn't thought about it in that way. I think that, frankly, my mom is a delight. Anyone who gets to know her is going to see that. They're going to support her, I think, for that reason. And they also, frankly, know that I'm not a spiteful, vindictive person, that if someone doesn't give to my mom, I'm going to take it out in some sort of legislative way. So I think those who support her are going to be doing it because she's a great candidate.
And let's kind of go back and let's talk a little bit about the differences between you two. Obviously, you're both Republicans. But what are some of the biggest issues facing the state that you may disagree on right now?
Yeah, we were actually talking about that the other day because this is coming up more and more, given that we're mother and son. Where do you disagree? Offhand, I don't really know. It's probably not going to be on the big stuff. It's probably, if anything, it's going to be on the little stuff. I mean, even like my seatmates over the years, right? We're obviously not family, but the same district. It's pretty rare when we don't end up voting similarly because we come from the same constituency. So I don't know. I'll be very curious when we're on opposite sides, but I don't know when that would be.
And do you see any sticky issues moving forward then that you two may disagree on and have maybe some unpleasant conversations?
Not at this point. Maybe once we get down there, if we are both hopefully elected, and then we get into talking more deeply about bills and issues, then that would be interesting to.
Okay. And JD, you said in some past interviews that you take it more personally with attacks against your mother than you do attacks against yourself. How are you going to be able to deal with that? I mean, because this is going to be a much higher profile, maybe potentially even a nastier primary general election.
Well, again, to what I said earlier, this wasn't my idea. I'm thrilled that she's doing it, but certainly there's a certain. When someone picks on your mom, it's hard not to take it personally. I don't take it personally when someone says something about me, so it'll be an adjustment, and I'll just stay focused on the positive, I guess.
As House Speaker, he's got a lot of friends, he's got a lot of enemies. I mean, as a mom, how do you deal with that when the people are coming after JD?
And I've seen some of it. Well, I just think what he's doing is the right thing, and that's what he's doing for our state is the best that he can for the right thing. So I'm okay with that. Everybody's not going to always see eye to eye on everything, and he's open to listen, and so that's kind of how I see it.
She probably, truthfully, hasn't seen the full effect because there is that separation between the city and the state levels. Now, if she's at the state level, the voters will have her. Then she'll see. Maybe she'll think differently about her son. I don't know.
And the campaign is a lot more partisan on the state level, obviously.
It is, absolutely.
The quote-unquote non-partisan city municipal election. So I want to thank you, two, for joining us here. We're going to have to stop, take a quick break here, but we do have more coming up on Politics Unplugged just ahead as President Trump says he will get rid of Obamacare whether Congress helps or not.
We're taking a little different route than we had hoped because getting Congress... They forgot what their pledges were.
Still ahead, we discuss what he can and can't do without lawmakers as the president goes it alone. And right after the break, Donald Trump and the courts. It appears the president has found a branch of government that he can actually work with.
Good morning. breaking news.
We have live team coverage with crews all across the valley this morning.
Oh, hello. You look like you could use some new flooring. Just call Express Flooring today.
Just call Express Flooring. We'll come to your home for fast, free in-home shopping. Lovely home, by the way.
Save 70% on all in-stock flooring, including pet and stain-resistant flooring. Plus, we'll even move your heavy furniture for free.
It's simple. Express makes it easy. Call today.
Express Flooring is the best. Call 800-EXPRESS.
This is all that was left from my accident. And that wasn't even the worst part. Whew, the pain in my neck and back was gnarly.
Nobody plans to be in an accident, but unfortunately they happen. If you're suffering a pain, call Emergency Chiropractic. They will treat you with no deductibles, no copays, and no out-of-pocket costs.
And now, I feel great.
Emergency Chiropractic, the kind of care you want today.
Buckle up. Did you know that you can turn your car and your title into cash with Title Max in as little as 30 minutes? Call 1-88-TITLE-MAX or go to TitleMax.com now to find out how much you can get.
$3,000.
$2,600.
Title Max turned my title into $10,000.
Call 1-88-TITLE-MAX or go to TitleMax.com and find out how much cash you can get. And you'll say,
I got my title back with Title Max.
Get your title back.
California loans made by Title Max of California Incorporated. California Finance Lender Law License number 603K014.
American Freight Furniture and Mattress grand opening of its newest locations in Mesa and in Tempe. 2 mattress sets any size from only $298. Get a king and a queen, a twin and a full, 2 kings, 2 queens, or mix and match from only $298. Accent chairs from only $98. Huge sectionals from only $598. Free layaway same-day delivery ends October 31st. At American Freight, Mesa on East University Drive, and in Tempe on South Priest Drive. Visit AmericanFreight.com.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. We turn our attention now to national news. President Donald Trump not having much luck with Congress. The U.S. Senate failed to repeal Obamacare despite the president cajoling and berating members. He's now locked in a public feud with Senator Bob Corker, but it turns out he is having a great deal of success with another branch of the government, the judiciary. And joining us now to talk about that is attorney James Goodnow with Fenimore Craig. I want to thank you very much for being on the show to talk a little bit about this issue. I mean, obviously a lot of big issues going before the Supreme Court right now. The president did get his pick in Neil Gorsuch. You know, what are the big issues out there right now facing the courts that Gorsuch is going to be, you know, a big factor and a big play in?
Well, we have a lot this term, so this is the first term with newly minted Justice Gorsuch. The big case that's really drawing the headlines is an issue that deals with religious liberties and the rights of same-sex couples. So there's a case coming out of Colorado where there was a baker. We heard a lot about this case.
We know a lot about this case.
Yeah, the campaign who refused to bake a cake for a same-sex couple. That was in violation of Colorado law that says you can't discriminate based on someone's sexual orientation. So the case has made its way up through the lower courts and now lands right on the Supreme Court's docket. So you're pitting the fundamental religious liberties of someone who says, I do not want to participate in these activities because it violates my religious beliefs, versus the protection that individuals now have under the law based on sexual orientation. So it's going to be an interesting case to watch this play out.
And give us a quick recap on where the lower courts have been on this.
The lower courts have had a split, which is typically what you see as you go up to the Supreme Court. I think when you're looking at how this is going to ultimately play out, though, I'd be surprised if you don't see Neil Gorsuch having an impact here, because really one of the hallmarks of his time in the judiciary was fighting for religious liberties. So you're going to see this probably come down to the swing vote in Justice Kennedy.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of the lower courts, the president is moving full steam ahead and making appointments to those lower courts. Many of these are young conservatives. What's the implications here?
Yeah, this is really the stealth victory of the Trump administration. So we can point to Neil Gorsuch, and that was a big public win for him. But what's happening on almost a daily basis now is the lower courts are getting packed with conservative judges that Donald Trump likes and that even moderate conservatives like. So we now have Donald Trump, who has nominated 50 judges to the federal bench. That is double the amount that we saw Barack Obama nominate at this same time. So while it's not as sexy and interesting and headline-grabbing, what it does do is impact day-to-day life. 99.9% of cases don't go to the Supreme Court. They're resolved at the lower court level.
Okay, cool. And initially it seemed like, you know, Trump was having some troubles with the courts, especially on his travel ban. Now, the case isn't over. Give us a quick update where that's at.
Travel ban is on pause right now. So what happened is Travel Ban 2.0, the second version of the executive order, is the case that's in front of the Supreme Court. Well, of course, before the oral argument happens, the hearing happens, White House comes out, and you have Travel Ban 3.0, which adds to the list of countries where travel is essentially limited to Venezuela and North Korea are now on the list. Why is that important? Well, those are not majority Muslim countries. And the argument, the fundamental argument is this travel ban was really the, quote, Muslim ban. And so now the Trump administration, through the Justice Department, can say, no, it's not a Muslim ban. This is simply a national security issue. Look at North Korea and look at Venezuela, not majority Muslim countries.
And I know another area of interest a lot, particularly for viewers here of the show, it's a case, it revolves around privacy, particularly around cell phone issues and whether or not police need a warrant to pin a person's cell phone location. Give us a quick recap on what that's all about and where it's at in the court.
Really interesting case. So if the police want to come into your house to look under your mattress or look in your drawer, they need a warrant under the Fourth Amendment. If police want to wiretap you, they need a warrant. We know that from Donald Trump's tweets about the subject in Trump Tower. Well, what's interesting is police can actually find your location based on GPS cell phone pings without a warrant. You can have lawmakers who can make these requests to the cell phone carriers, and they honor those requests. So the question is, why do you need a warrant on the one hand, but you don't need it here? The counter-argument is people don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy to the location anymore. Everyone knows there's a GPS tracker on their phone. So that one will be a tough battle, no doubt.
Now, while I got you here, I also got to talk about some of the pretty topical issues here. We saw that Donald Trump has basically declared war with the NFL over the some players' decisions to kneel during the national anthem in protest of what they say is the treatment of young black Americans by the police. You know, now Roger Goodell has said that he feels that the players should stand. Now, first of all, what Goodell is saying doesn't have any real force, but legally, is there any way he could force these players to stand? Because I think a lot of people are confused. You hear a lot of people say they have First Amendment rights. Well, your First Amendment rights protect you from the government, but they don't necessarily protect you from what your employer does, right?
That's exactly right. So the First Amendment does not apply to private enterprise. It means the government can't come in and say you should do something or not do something or say something or not say something. Here, the NFL can basically do what it wants. Now, the way this would happen is the NFL owners would ratify a change here that says you need to stand during the national anthem. Does the First Amendment get implicated? Probably not. But you do see some novel areas of labor law that are being raised now, saying that this solidarity among NFL players is analogous to collective bargaining. So expect this one to play out over the coming years.
And let's talk another big topical issue here. Harvey Weinstein, he's the movie mogul here, now in a whole lot of trouble over allegations that he abused women. What are the legal ramifications? What is he facing right now, potentially legally?
Short answer, a legal tsunami is coming his direction. He has criminal issues in California and New York where there's no statute of limitations on sexual assault. And when it comes to the civil side, a mountain of lawsuits are heading his way right now. So he is
prison time?
Certainly is possible. It certainly is possible. Now, he is a celebrity, and as we saw in the Bill Cosby case where you had a hung jury, it can be difficult for prosecutors to make a conviction when you have a celebrity who has almost unlimited resources to get the big legal guns in, but he's going to have a lot of legal challenges ahead.
All right, great to see you, man, but we're going to take a quick break here, but we do have more. Just ahead on Politics Unplugged, including some big news about the Arizona Democratic Party, a closer look at why the party chair is stepping down and what it could mean as next year's elections loom. We'll be right back.
Being hit while riding a motorcycle can be devastating. You'll have major injuries and major hospital bills. Hurt while riding a motorcycle? You know who to call. I'm attorney Kevin Rowe, and we'll fight hard to get you every dollar you deserve.
977-1900. On game day, football players aren't the only ones suiting up. Our crew's ready for any play.
Yeah. Can I get one box? Extra sauce. Hydrated Idaho. Tailgate to go.
So that's a box combo with extra cane sauce, fresh squeezed lemonade with crinkle cut fries, and a 25-finger tailgate.
Nailed it.
Football is just part of who we are. Proud partner of the Arizona Cardinals. Go Cardinals.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
So I switched to CenturyLink Internet. It's great. My price is set for life.
For life?
For life.
They can't do that.
Yeah, no contract either.
What, no contract?
No contract.
They wouldn't do that. No, they wouldn't do that.
We did that.
Guys, I'm telling you.
Introducing CenturyLink Price for Life Internet. Get fast speeds up to 100 megs and keep your rate as long as you keep your plan. Speed may not be available in your area. Switch now at CenturyLink.com.
The Big Four mattress makers need us to dump 4 months of their mattresses in these 3 days. And they'll need to drop our outlet prices another 50% to do it. Luxury hotels sell them for $2,300. Friday, you pay $499. Famous queen size $199. King size $299. Twins $79. Free power adjustables. Free financing. Free delivery. They need us to sell 4 months of their mattresses. They need to give you another 50% off our prices at the dump.
Pause moving and storage.
We just sold our house.
We'll deliver a few containers.
Our new home's not ready.
No problem. You can store things with us while you're between homes.
We'll be staying at my brother's.
Well, that's how...
He has kids of his own.
Well...
5 of them.
Ma'am?
Trust us for local and long-distance moving and store at our storage centers. Pods, moving and storage, solved.
Right now, receive free local delivery.
Thank you for calling Lerner & Rowe Injury Attorneys.
Thank you for calling Lerner & Rowe Injury Attorneys.
Thank you for calling Lerner & Rowe Injury Attorneys.
Hurt in a wreck and need to speak to an attorney? We're available 24/7. Get the help when you need it right now. I'm attorney Kevin Rowe.
977-1900.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It's time to turn our attention, meet with our partners from First Strategic, and with us today is Barry Dill and Kurt Davis. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us here. And I guess the big question here, the big news last week was, President Trump issuing an executive order to, in his words, start repealing Obamacare. Tell us a little bit about how this is going to play.
The executive order is really more directed towards providing small business alternative health care plans. I think there's a little bit of overreaction that it's actually really a beginning of a repeal.
But my understanding is that this really could hit people who don't qualify for subsidies. They could see their premiums go through the roof.
Well, the argument is that everybody's premiums are going through the... If you leave the status quo, your premiums are going through the roof. We're back to this old thing of no matter what you do, there's a problem. If you do nothing, there's a problem. Barry?
What will happen is younger people who are healthy will fall out of the market, therefore pushing prices on elderly people like me with pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. We will be the ones where our premiums will go out
the pre-existing conditions problem
out of the real.
Well, okay, why does he keep going at this? He's tried this numerous times. Because a bipartisan coalition in the Senate has killed every attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare. Mm-hmm. So now he is moving forward with executive actions which this president campaigned and criticized the former president on for using.
When you become president and you get frustrated, they do this. And I'm not justifying it. Ultimately, these executive orders will all go down in balls and flames in court, if that's what happens. But the president playing on this issue is actually smart because the American people, the people that elected him, want something done because the system has collapsed, Dennis.
I would say 15 months ago, this guy was negotiating leases, and now he's in a different element, completely out of his element. He can't negotiate a lease with his own party's leadership, and he's on this campaign to be the tough guy. I've got the guy with the match. I'm the guy that's going to start the fire.
And the American people want something done. They want something done.
But not this way. They don't want this cancer to grow and ruin their lives.
But he gets to point a finger at Congress every time one of these things fails, and then he shows decisive action, just like Barack Obama did.
That's right.
On the immigration issue.
Well, which is why Democrats will have a great year next year.
Well, and another big issue with the president this past week was his intention to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. Now, this is a deal that was put together under Obama, and he is, intends. He says he doesn't like this. Barry, explain. Is this good? Is this bad? His approach to this.
The approach is terrible because once again he's dealing like he's dealing real estate. The French, our friends in Europe, are very nervous about this, even though they willingly on the front end decided not to go. He punted the primary focus of the negotiations that got to where we are to Congress, and he's not inadvertently, I think on purpose, now has the Iranians madder than all get out and not willing to believe any word that he says.
And thank goodness somebody has finally said we're not going to just sit back and watch Iran become one of the lead nuclear-armed nations on the earth.
And
what that deal was a bad deal for the United States of America and for the peaceful world.
But is this deal going to hurt American business? Because as it stands right now, there's a lot of European countries with the sanctions lifted, just ready to jump in there and start working with the Iranians.
We haven't had an economic impact from Iran in the United States for many years because we're the ones actually doing sanctions.
It just opens more doors for an international crisis to bomb us to smithereens.
Putting your head in the sand,
Yellowstone.
Putting your head in the sand about Iran's objectives.
It's about diplomacy. It's not about selling a lease.
How long have we talked to Iran? For 20 years, 30 years, and they keep building away, keep building away. I'm thankful that somebody finally is calling it for what it is, which is it took a lot of money from the United States, and they are ignoring the quote-unquote agreement.
But he still left it and kicked the ball over to Congress. So Congress is the one who's going to ultimately have to say, well, we'll be the ones to go impart sanctions.
Okay, I want to bring it back.
The pesky Constitution, though, does say Congress is supposed to ratify treaties. I know it's...
Sure. Well, I want to bring the conversation back to Arizona, some local issues. Barry, she is the resident Democrat here. Chairman of the Democratic Party stepping down. What's the significance of this?
The significance is severalfold. Notwithstanding the fact that Alexis Tameron decided to move from her Tempe place of residence, so she's moving into Phoenix. She's not a precinct committee person anymore. By law, she has to step down. The good part of all of this is she's not going anywhere. She'll be much more focused. She's been the best, one of the very, very best party chairs because she understands how to run campaigns, and I would be afraid if she were on my opponent's campaign.
Okay, we got about 15 seconds. I want to ask you about the Phoenix mayoral race. We've seen a bunch of people jump into that. No Republicans so far. Anybody from your side going to be jumping in?
There's some rumors about a gentleman named Mr. Sanchez. Some of you will remember he ran for the Maricopa Community College Board. That's one name that we've heard. I don't think we've seen the end of this. I mean, this is the beginning of the dominoes.
All right. All right. Well, that is all the time we have tonight. Be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged.